No, that's what I want to talk about. I mean, because I feel like, everybody knows who you are. Everybody knows who Guy Fieri is. I don't think everybody knows the work you're doing, sometimes quietly, without fanfare, and sometimes with fanfare intentionally, like the fires 2 years ago in Maui, where obviously, you're not going over there and, cooking food for people on the ground. It doesn't work. So what do? You raise a lot of money for the victims. I spoke with Cheryl Matsuoka recently about you and the work you did for them over here. I know you had a massive fundraiser. I want to hear about that. She writes to me 2 years ago when the Maui fires caused widespread destruction and loss of life. It was and still is hard to comprehend the despair and uncertain future for those who lost loved ones, their homes, and their livelihood. Within hours, Guy was reaching out, asking what our displaced restaurant workers needed. Nothing short of heroic, how he single-handedly mobilized I'm getting kind of weepy. Mobilized the nation's restaurant and entertainment leaders to donate much-needed funds to our workers at a time of extreme need. It's amazing, Guy. So you're calling up when the fire's still blazing, going, what can I do? And you have this event, and I'm embarrassed to say this, but I didn't know who Taylor Sheridan was. And I remember talking to you, and you're like, yeah, I have Taylor Sheridan. He's gonna come to this event. We're gonna have this big fundraiser. Taylor Sheridan's coming. And I go, who's that?
Well, again, it's that thing, I don't know Taylor really well, but I knew him well enough that it was worth a shot. And I was sitting there watching Lioness, and I love Lioness. I love all the shows he makes. And I thought, hey, he's a heavy hitter. Let me give him a call. I called McConaughey. I called anybody on my Rolodex that might be interested in what we were doing. I had 40 of the greatest chefs in the country coming together, and we're going to cook. We raised we had 150 people come to the event. We raised $1.7 million in one night with 150 people in the room.
That's amazing.
Unbelievable. And the thing was, it wasn't me. I didn't raise the money. I was a part of it.
Yeah. You were the reason they wrote these. They showed up to your house.
I got to stop you. It wasn't because of me. All I was the amalgamator. It's the same thing about diners, drive-ins, and dives. I'm not diners, drive-ins, and dives. All I am is the light. I'm shining the light on the people that are already amazing in our industry, that are crushing it and need the attention and the recognition that they deserve. And I say this all the time. You know what? The only thing that competes with diners, drive-ins, and dives is people on social media propping and representing and supporting their local restaurants and chefs and saying, look, America, look at what this person does. I love that. I mean, as a matter of fact, we're starting a YouTube channel that is going to be doing some stuff like that. So all I am is a part of it. I'm just it's what makes the explosion. Is it the fuse or the dynamite? Well, you got to have the fuse for the dynamite to work. But the reality of it is the power is in the people. And all these chefs that came together and all the donations that were made. Taylor Sheridan not only spent money, but also gave donation items. He raised, of that 1.7 million, he raised 300,000 just in offering a visit to the set of Yellowstone. And it's
never seen an episode, by the way.
Well, you missed, but hey, bro, I know you're busy as can be. But Yellowstone is you'll be sad to know I never watched an episode of Sopranos, sadly enough. But that's kind of like you not seeing Yellowstone. But I'll tell you what it was, folks, for everybody that's listening. Every time I have a project and I want to help somebody, do you know the one person that I call? Condie. When I was trying to raise money during the pandemic, when we were doing LA, when we were facing Hawaii, all of these different times, this guy has got a Rolodex.
Oh, give me a break.
It is thicker than, I don't even know how to explain who he knows, but every time I've called him and said, I need to get in touch with somebody, how do I get in touch with the National Restaurant Association? I want top brass. I need to go right to the top. This is hot topic. I got to go right now. He said, hang on a second. I'll get right back to you. 2 minutes. and we're in the big conference call. So, John, you are a man of the people. And that's what I'm saying. It's not about the money. It's about the contacts. It's about the awareness. We all have the ability. Just play your best instrument.
So, like, dude, when I'm listening to you talk, this just the passion that you have, the way the force of your message and how you deliver and who and how you are hasn't changed. And I know that you know where you came from, and your team, your posse, right, have been with you since long before Famous Guy, right? And I think that's what's so amazing about you. And I think everybody I know that watches you and is a fan of yours, I know that there are people in this podcast who right, who are listening going, oh my God, I can't believe that Guy Fieri is, on this podcast. But you're like a normal, regular guy, even with your sort of stratospheric fame. I've got a story, and I actually found a picture. This was a couple weeks ago. I was cleaning out a desk, and I found a photo, and I'm like, oh my God. And I think you'll remember this when I show it to you. But this must have been maybe 2007. This is right after you won the Food Network star. It must have been, I'm guessing 2007.
Boy, what is he dragging out of the archive?
No, it's awesome. Well, I was working and my phone rings and it's you. And I think you were here opening up a grand opening for one of your restaurants in Sacramento. And I answer the phone and you're like, dude, be out in front of your office 15 minutes. I go, all right. And
only I call the president of the California Restaurant Association, dude.
Yeah. And so I go out and then here you come pulling up in a yellow Corvette. And again, this was at the beginning. You were just sort of, I remember you saying, hey man, I don't know how long this gig is going to last, this Food Network star thing or this show, but I'm going to make the most of it while it lasts. And of course, we all know how that ended, right? But you pull up in your yellow Corvette, you get out and you're like looking at this yellow Corvette and you're like, I made it. I just bought this yellow Corvette. Okay? So take that. Now fast forward, I don't know, probably a little less than 10 years. 2018, I think it was in the winter of 2018. It's early in the morning, it's 7:30 in the morning, and I'm at the Sacramento airport, standing in line to get on a flight. I'm, I think, B60 in the Southwest thing. And my phone rings, 7:30 in the morning, and it's Guy. And I'm like, what the hell's Guy doing calling me at 7:30 in the morning? I answer it, and you're like, dude, I just got the baddest ass G5 jet, ever. And I'm like, you're telling me about the jet, and I'm telling you, this is the last thing I need to hear from you while I'm standing in a Southwest line at 7:30 in the morning. Right? I'm going to be in the middle seat, and you're telling me this. And then you're like, that's not why I called you, though. I'm getting a star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame in February next year, and you need to be there. And I always think about those two moments, right? The yellow Corvette pulling up and the 7:30 call about yet another jet you get to buy. And
I think I was calling you about the jet. I think you.
No, you weren't. That's right. You weren't. You were calling to tell me that there's a ceremony to put your star on the Walk of Fame, and that I got to be there. But I always think about those two moments, between someone who's got a shot at something, but you were a regular restaurant operator just trying to see how this TV thing's going to work. 10 years later, you are beyond uber famous, and yet it's the same person, hasn't changed a bit. And we've seen plenty of very rich, famous people misbehave and not being able to handle it. And as they get richer and more famous, they get worse. And it's the inverse for you, right? You actually get better. You're using your fame for good. And that's why the California Restaurant Foundation is giving you the Heart of the Hospitality Award in September down in Del Mar. And it couldn't, there was nobody more deserving than you on that, man. And here's the picture.
You know what a fan I am.
Look at this. Do you remember that?
I know those two guys.
Those are my boys. Those are my boys when they were in grade school, and that is the
Didn't we
day.
go to the grade school? Didn't we go over to the school?
Yes, because you were like, this is when you showed
Drove-
me the
Right.
vet, and you're like, oh, I think we were going to go have a drink or something later that evening, and you're like, what are you doing until then? I said, I got to run down to Elk Grove. I got to go to the school, to bring some paperwork or whatever. And then you're like, I'm coming with you. And I go, are you sure? I'll be right back. You go, no, I'm coming with you. And I think we drove, yeah, you drove your fancy new yellow Corvette.
Yeah.
And we walk into the school, and this was after hours, and you walk in with me, and the secretary almost had a heart attack. And they're running around trying to grab janitors who were still around to take pictures. My boys were there. And that picture is the one I found.
Oh, that's funny. Yeah.
Isn't that amazing?
Well, John, you know what a fan I am of CRA, and I've always told you that I want to help spread the message. Together we stand, divided we fall. If people don't understand, everybody looks at the restaurant business. Oh, you're in the restaurant business, you make so much money, and da da da. Margins are so thin in the restaurant business. The only industry that's a thinner margin than us is the grocery store business. But not very often does somebody get a box of cornflakes and bring it back and say it's not what I was expecting.
Right.
Or the
Yeah, I think-
cashier wasn't that friendly. I mean, it's a completely different animal. But it's such an honor. And again, you know me so well that I don't do anything. I'm not looking for accolades. I'm not looking for pats on the back. I've been blessed to have an amazing family and amazing friends and buddies like you, dudes like you. But it really does mean the world to me. And I told you when I quit making the meetings for the Educational Foundation how bad. He said, "Yeah, we're taking you off. We're putting you in pro tem. You'll live forever." But I was just so, I've been so busy since then, but I am very honored. And just to stay in true form, when you and I spoke about this, the first thing I said is, all right, what is the gig? My son Ryder goes to school in San Diego. I said, I'm going to be down there, to visit him. I said, this will be perfect, but what's the gig? He said, well, we're going to get some people together and we're going to do this thing. I said, no, let's raise some money. Let's make this fun. Let's
Yeah.
have an event. Let's do something. Let's not take all the power of CRA and the Ed Foundation and all the people that are going to be there and all the heavy hitters. Let's and it's going to a good charity. It's going to a great cause. And I'll speak and we can do the thing and let's make it bigger than 100 people.
Yeah.
And of course, what you give me is like, always making a move, buddy. Always thinking,
Always make a move. That's why we love you.
why not capitalize? Why have this event? I don't want 100 people to be there when I get my award. I want 500. No, I'm just kidding.
You want a bigger
I
audience.
think it'd be a lot of fun.
By the way, speaking of Ryder, and I'm an Aztec, and I love that Ryder's an Aztec. Congratulations on getting that catering gig at Hunter Fieri's wedding.
Me getting the catering gig?
Yeah.
Me having to pay for the catering gig at my ranch.
Yeah.
I'm at one of the reasons I'm at the ranch. We just, like I said, we shot commercials yesterday, but we were up here to get the planning going because he's inviting the world to this event.
I bet.
Yeah, no, unfortunately, Chef Cesar owes me a favor and he's going to help me with it. But it's going to be quite, we got some really cool celebrity chefs, Antonio LaFaso and Aaron Mayer coming. But the big highlight of the family right now is Hunter just graduated University of Miami with his with his master's in business. And my nephew Jules, who's kind of like my middle son, we lost my sister to cancer. So we raised Jules. And Jules just graduated Loyola Marymount with his law degree.
Wow.
So, two boys, two Fieris are doing, and I've told them all, that they have to give me 2 degrees. And I don't mean one of them's high school. I mean, I want 2 degrees. And poor Ryder, who's only a freshman or just finished his freshman year at San Diego, he's like, if I hear anything more about this, I got 3 more years of big
Yeah.
college and then 2 more years of postgraduate. But I said, the great thing is you have a passion for what you love. He's into sports. He works for the Aztec basketball team, loves it. He's a big ball player himself, but couldn't go play D1, wasn't that big of a ball player. So he works for the basketball team. And I said, here's the deal. You're working some way. You go get a job or you find something to do on campus. You're going to have something, but you're not just going to sit down there and go to school. If you're going to go and support a charity, if you're going to go donate your time to Best Buddies, something like that, then I'll fund, I'll come up with the support money for you. But if you don't plan on doing any of that stuff, you're getting a job. I worked full time. I paid my own way through college. A little different from doing it in the mid 80s to where it is now, but nonetheless, still got to have a job. Got to be multifaceted. But he's working for the basketball team and loves it.
It's amazing. Hey, so Hunter's going to get married. You're paying for the catering. It's going to be an amazing event, I'm sure. But more importantly, you're going to have a daughter-in-law. At what point are you going to start agitating for a grandkid? Is that going to be right after the wedding, or will you give him some time?
No. I'm not in any of the life management side of things for these two. I want them to be happy.
That's Lori's job?
No, she's not even that way either. I mean, she's his fiance is a professional pickleball player, and so she's got quite a busy schedule. And Hunter's got a lot to take on with running Knuckle Sandwich, with running the company. We have 100+ restaurants and tequila company, a wine company, a cigar company, pots and pans, sauces. I mean, we got enough stuff going on here that he needs to get busy. He's had 2 years to do this MBA, but now that he's done with that, he's been doing the wine business on the road. He's been on the road three weeks a month selling the wine. We have a little winery called Hunt Ride Wine, Hunter and Rider.
Where is that, by the way? Is it in Sonoma?
We were going to build an actual brick and mortar winery, and we got a little bit of a NIMBY situation there with people not wanting, it was too big, too celebrity, blah, blah, blah. So we just make the wine. Guy Davis is our winemaker. He's an amazing winemaker, great name. And we just make it, bottle it, and we sell it. It's great table wine. Do a Chardonnay, do like a red table wine Meritage blend. Started with our Sauvignon Blanc. Our Rosé just came out. We're small, but we're mighty, and Hunter's getting the feeling of what it's like to start a business and how hard it is to run. But
That's pretty cool.
No, so my thing is, I don't think it's the era that you and I grew up in, Jot, where you had to have kids when you were 25, 26 years old. I think that you can easily now get yourself into the mid-30s, and I think I was a better parent. I was more educated, more well-rounded at 35 when we had Ryder than I was at 25 when we had Hunter. I mean, I think I was a great dad either way, but
They both turned out, look how they turned out, right? So, yeah. Okay, lastly, is this big necklace that you always wear, is that Matt Booth still?
That is Matt Booth, and that is because of you, by the way.
Matt Booth necklace?
That is a Matt Booth, and that is because of you, Jot. That is because when Jot and I were hanging out, and Jot used that, and I used to hang out all the time. I mean,
yeah.
I
still have a bracelet that's that. Every time I see you on TV wearing that thing, I go, oh, I got that bracelet.
Chain.
Yeah, it's a bracelet, but it was,
No, I thought you had a wallet chain.
Yeah. I had one of those too.
That's what you had was a wallet chain, and I'm the rebel. I'm the wild one, right? So Jot had this wallet chain that was of this same link, and I remember saying, where'd you get that? And he introduced me to Matt Booth, which Matt and I are super longtime friends now. And he's made so many pieces of jewelry. And he's in the cigar business and the booze business. And I mean, I just saw him at the big cigar convention in New Orleans the other day. But yeah, what a great guy. All
That's awesome.
The great amalgamator, Jot Condie.
You need to tell him I said hello next time you see him.
He's amazing.
Yeah, super guy. And you're a super guy. One last thing. Shannon Klingman, when I just said, hey, I'm going to bring you up, when I'm talking to Guy, she said, oh, tell him I said hello. So hi from Shannon Klingman, your good friend. And I also talked to our friend Michelle Korsmo, who's the president and CEO of the National Restaurant Association. She's like, oh my God. And she was talking about the amazing work you did during the pandemic. And I think a lot of people forgot, I didn't, that you raised $22 million for the Restaurant Employee Relief Fund. Guy's philanthropic work has been a beacon of hope for the restaurant workers in a time of need. In the midst of the pandemic, he raised over $22 million for the Restaurant Employee Relief Fund, providing critical support for thousands of restaurant workers in a time of crisis.
Guy, you were on the end of that phone call, and I remember when it happened, and I can remember it like it was yesterday. I got a phone call from a friend that was on the inside track of California politics and said that they're going to shut restaurants down on Wednesday. That was Monday. and it was a couple days, and I was just blown away. And I'm calling everybody I can call to try to get in touch with our governor. You were one of them. And I'm like, there's no way we can do this. You're going to kill this industry. Restaurants are, maybe it was a Thursday, because that's when we would get our big orders in getting ready for the weekend. I said, these walk-ins are going to be packed. People rely on their weekends. Restaurateurs live paycheck to paycheck. This is going to be crippling. This is going to get getting decapitated. And the next day I'm talking to my team and I said, okay, listen, someone come get my black card. Go buy $50,000 in gift certificates here in Santa Rosa. Just go buy every restaurant and just go buy $500 worth of gift certificates and, or $1,000. I tell my dad, he's like, okay, it's good. It's good. He says, that is just Santa Rosa. He said, you got a bigger footprint than that. What about, I said, you're right, California. So I called my team back. I said, okay, California, we got to do this. I'm going to call Jack Condie. We're going to figure out how to buy massive amounts of gift cards, and we'll give them to the rescue missions. Okay, that's a great idea. Great idea. About an hour later, my dad calls me back. He goes, no, I think you're missing this. He says, you're nationwide. You do diners, drive-ins, and dives everywhere. He goes, you whole nation. I said, yeah, okay. So I call my attorney, does my restaurant deals, Riley Largison.
Oh my God, Riley, he's a great guy.
He just had a baby today.
Oh, wow.
Yesterday.
Amazing.
I called Riley. I said, hey, Riley, do you have the emails to all the CFOs and CEOs of all the major corporations that make money off the restaurant business? He said, yeah. And I said, I'm going to make some videos. I said, I need the top 45 people. Who do I write to? And I want you to send these messages to him. He says, okay. Well, he didn't know that he was getting videos. So I stood there in my kitchen with a dry erase board and I wrote all my details about Uber Eats, how much business they do, who the president is, the whole thing. And I made 45 individual videos and I sent them to Riley. I said, send these out. And I said flat out, you've been making money off this industry forever. And the industry is going to be on its knees next week. Help be part of the solution of saving our industry. And it's not just the money. It's the consideration. It's the hug that the restaurant needs. Okay? I sent this out. And it was aggressive. Don't get me wrong, because I said, I'd really like to be able to say that you were one of the people that helped us and not have to put you on the list of the people that didn't help us. I did say it that way. So I'm driving.
That sounds like mob shit.
No, it's full on mob shit. And the thing is my dad was ready to kill me. He's like, what the He goes, you can't go doing that. He goes, that's an idle threat. I go, I don't give a shit what it is. I'm pissed. I mean, I really was. I was so mad that an industry that does everything for everybody, the restaurant business handles your funerals, your graduations, your weddings, your birthdays, your good days, your bad days, we're there. We're the restaurant business. We're the open arm. We're the hug. We're the ones that take care of you. Well, you know what? Right now, we're getting our ass kicked, and I need you people that have been making, come on. That's what the message was. So I'm driving down the road, leaving Santa Rosa, driving to my ranch, and Reed, my COO of my company, goes, hey, did you send out some messages last night about something? I'm like, you maybe. And he goes, what did you say? And I said, I don't know. I just told people they better help. And he goes, all right, well, whatever you said. I got Pepsi on the other line. They want to give you $1 million.
Wow.
I pull over to the side of the road. I mean, I'm teared up. I don't even know how to get on this conference call. And they said, tell us what you're doing. And I said, well, I want to give money to restaurant workers that aren't going to have any money and that don't have time to wait for unemployment because the restaurant business doesn't work that way. And we have so many people that aren't going to get the amount of money they need as quickly as they need. I just want to give them money. I said, okay, we get it. Great. And that's when we pivoted with the National Restaurant Association. I said, get ready. There's a bunch of money coming your way. Can you help to distribute it? They said, how much are we talking? 5, 6 million? I said, no, I'm going for $100 million. They said, $100 million? My dad says, that's ridiculous. You know, he's my sounding board. He always was my sounding board. I said, well, you can't hit 100 if you don't try for 100. You know, and I didn't know how much we were going to raise. So by the time I made it over the hill, Uber Eats had called, Tito Vodka called. We were sitting on $3.5 million in the first day. And then I just started getting up every morning here at the ranch. I'd get up every morning at 4 a.m. and do the news feeds in New York, because that's, all works off of the East Coast timing, and just pitching the deal, talking to Fox News, talking to CNN, talking to anybody who listened to me, and just explaining to them, saying, listen, the restaurant industry is on its knees and we need to do this. So we raised, it was a little more than 22 million. I don't want to argue the number with anybody, but it was a shit ton of money.
Yeah.
And we started giving out these the National Restaurant Association website it crashed right when it opened up. We had 100,000 apply. 1.7 million restaurant workers were out of work. So we gave out the money, $500 grants. All you had to do is prove that you worked in the business when the restaurant was closed. That's all we had, just paycheck stub. And it was unbelievable. Over 45,000 of those grants were given. And the National Restaurant Association was amazing. Talk about rallying behind your people. They had no interest-bearing idea or any way comprehensible that they could do this, and they did it. And that's another one of those things I keep saying is, you don't know what you need until you need it. So pay forward, invest in your industry. It really is so important. I can't say this enough. Yeah, I can get lost and say I'm a small business, I really don't have the money, and it's da-da-da-da-da-da. You know what? You can't. What is the old saying? An ounce of prevention for a pound of cure. So
100%.
I run into people. Just the other day, I was shooting a restaurant, and they came up, and this guy said, "Can I, say hi?" I said, "Yeah, how you doing? What are you doing?" He says, "I'm a big fan." He goes, "But I want to tell you something." He said, "When I was at the darkest time, you did the coolest thing for me." I said, "Oh, what was that?" He goes, "You gave me that grant." And he goes, "It made me believe in the restaurant business. It made me believe that everything that I've done in this business, the restaurant business cared about me." He said, "It was so cool that it came from you and the National Restaurant Association." And I'm like, that wasn't the first time he told that story. And that wasn't the first time that he inspired somebody with that story. So what we did is we gave out 45,000 grants, but what we really did is we gave that industry, our industry, the industry we love, are committed to, we gave them that big brother hug that said, don't worry, we'll get through this, and we got you. And that was the truth in the message. It wasn't the money. It was the awareness, and it was the power. And that's what was the most important. So pretty crazy.
That's
shit.
why you are a philanthropist / humanitarian / amazing human being / celebrity chef.
/ your buddy.
My buddy and my
/
buddy.
CRA
Here.
member.
Yes, yes. And board.
/ Ed Foundation.
Yes, you're still board member emeritus on the California Restaurant Foundation.
That's it. It's board member emeritus.
Yeah, you're not allowed in the meetings. No, we'll let you put your name.
I get the notes though. She keeps me up to date.
Alicia and her team are amazing, and of course
that's what people jot. As much as I talked, I shot when I first got Food Network, and I was doing I had all these things. I shot a whole thing about ProStart. I don't know if you remember.
I remember. I remember.
I tell people on the regular about this. It's a 1 in 10 that you're even aware of ProStart. ProStart is the greatest program for these young adults, for these high school students, for the management course. Not everybody wants to be a cook and be a chef and be in the back of the house. The management course, the critical thinking factor that we're empowering these young adults with. If they don't make it in the restaurant business, that's fine. We're just teaching people about dealing with the public, dealing with teams, problem solving, courtesy, civility, all these kinds of things.
Yeah.
And looking at what these states are doing and how the National Restaurant Association, nobody's making any money off this. This isn't a money-gaining venture. This is us planting the seed in the next generation to take over our industry. It is, how is everybody and their mother not getting behind this?
Yeah, you know what? It's almost like you have to be there. And
True.
Once you're there, Nikki was telling me several weeks ago that when ProStart was in Sacramento, they sent, well, a reporter was assigned, I think a reporter was assigned to go cover it. And there was sort of like this, really, this is news, you know?
I'm going to the kids' cooking competition.
Yeah, right. And comes back and is completely, of a different mind, saying that was extraordinary. These high school kids to see the poise and the motivation and their ability to communicate and their intelligence. It was, motivating and inspirational for him. So, yeah, I guess to all those restaurant operators who are listening out there, you got to make it to a ProStart competition.
Go judge, go mentor, go whatever. But you know what? It's hard for me to hear our industry complain about a lack of workforce when it doesn't happen overnight. It's kind of like growing tequila, like growing the Weber Blue Agave. It takes 8 years for it to come to reality. But the thing is let's start planting that seed now, because you may not have your restaurant in the time these high school students become workforce able. But you know what? If you love this industry as much as I do, we need to continue to invest in it, because you can't complain about something that you have the ability to fix.
Yeah.
We all have the chance to participate. And I'm telling you, ProStart needs you in any capacity you want to help. Going to speak at the schools. I mean, one of the greatest things we teach them is serve safe. I mean, serving food safely. I mean, like everybody needs that education. Yeah, continued on, man. I think that what CRA does and what the Ed Foundation does is
Yeah.
just amazing work, and it's been such a blessing to be part of it. And as you know, I always want to help and try to send the message and explain to people what goes on. But I think you're all doing a really good job at doing it now, and I've seen the trajectory and the growth of what you've done in the leadership in the 2 years you were going to be. Really sticking to your word on that one, aren't you, Condie? But yeah, man. And I think this is great. I love this message that you're getting to people through this podcast. What
Yeah.
a fun way to do it, and such great insight. We have so many legends in this business. I guess the roster ran low while you got me on here, but I appreciate
No,
it.
hey man, you're here. You are one of those. You are one of those. I just read a
Well,
bunch of quotes.
I know the
Talking
legends in our
to,
business because I sat on the board with them and was around a bunch of them. And there's just so many people that have set the foundation and footprint of who we are, especially
yeah,
in California for the restaurant business. And you've got a Rolodex that thick that I can't wait to tune in and find out who you're going to have next, because this is not only informative but inspiring to the industry, and hopefully we'll have more of the more of the students and other chefs and restaurateurs and aspiring to tune in and listen to it.
yeah. Guy Fieri, philanthropist, famous restaurateur, celebrity of
Your buddy.
Uber fame. Thank you for joining us. We got to cut this off because we're getting pretty damn close to Joe Rogan time, and I don't want to upstage Joe Rogan on the podcast.
It's good when we've had so many different messages that have gone on here. I like the little quick tidbits that we did at the beginning that took so damn long. I can't believe you just were so long.
No, that was awesome. That was great. It was almost as long as the friggin' podcast was scheduled for, but it's awesome. The more Guy Fieri, the better.
I'll see you in September down in San Diego, and let's have some fun with it, and let's raise some money and get a good sponsor and whatever else we can do. Maybe bring that championship team. I know they're Southern California that won the culinary. Let's bring them down maybe and say hi and do something with them, and who knows? Let's just make the most of it. But thank you for the award. Thank you for the recognition. And, thanks for being my friend. Thanks for being the guy that always answers my call when I have another great idea of what we can do.
You're full of them. And usually when you have a great idea, it's to do something good. So
right.
Thanks for doing that. Okay, Guy. Thanks, man.
You're the
Appreciate
best, Shot.